Hello, everybody. My name is John Reachchild with Agile Fleet, and I welcome you to this introduction to FleetCommander. FleetCommander is a cloud-based fleet management information system that allows organizations to monitor their fleet and their fleet needs in regards to maintenance, fuel management, risk management, sometimes GPS telematics, key management, and what we want to talk about today is motor pool and vehicle sharing. I'm pleased that your organization has chosen to use our product, FleetCommander, to help you make reservations for vehicles. And so today, I'm going to walk you through that process, show you how to make reservations in FleetCommander and what FleetCommander will be able to do for you. Now, first of all, as we mentioned, FleetCommander is a cloud-based solution, and as such, you'll need to log in to FleetCommander. You can see here we can pull up the website by going to the URL that's been designated to your organization. Now you're going to want to contact your administrator in regards to the specific URL that your organization will use. And in this case, we're using a sample site that we call Agile Success .agilefleet.com. Now, as you can see here, this is what we call our native login into FleetCommander. For the majority of you that are watching this video, this is going to be what you see when you go to FleetCommander to the URL. Now, at this point, you have the ability to log in if you have a user profile already set up. But if not, I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. But as it is right now, what you see is there are several items here that you can access without actually having a true login. Such information, public information, would be found in regards to the instructions that on how to use FleetCommander. And each of these links are going to look different depending upon how your company or your school or your organization has chosen to present that information. Here with the instructions, it's showing the various steps on making the reservations. There's also a link here in regards to policies that are pertinent to your organization, how the fleet is run. You'll also find access here without having to log into FleetCommander in regards to vehicles and rates that this particular site is providing. You also have the ability here to take a look at the information in regards to locations and where the fleet may be located, how to access where the key control system is at. And then also, of course, there's an area that provides information in regards to the contact information and even frequently asked questions. So this is the area, as you would be able to, with the URL, be able to log in. I mean, right before logging in, be able to take a look and have some of your questions answered. You'll notice, though, however, if you click on the areas of where it says make reservations or my schedule or profile, that you end up getting this message. You have attempted to access a feature that requires you to log in first or have admin privileges to access this. That's because this area here is restricted, and you have to actually have permission from your organization in order to access that. Again, as part of how FleetCommander was set up for your organization, that you may already have a profile, and if so, you simply type in your username and type in your password and hit login, and you'll be able to access that. Now, oftentimes we find that people end up forgetting their password. In that situation, you'll see that with on the main login page there is a forgot password option. By clicking on that, it will ask you for your username, and you can type in the username that has been provided to you by your organization. Again, it may be necessary for you to contact your fleet management or administrator to get that username. But once you have that username, by entering it, you'll get a message here from FleetCommander that says that the password reset email has been sent to you, the email that you have on file, and you'll have the directions in order to reset that password. That email looks similar to this right here. Again, FleetCommander is something that it can be configured to an organization's needs. So the actual wording on this email may be a little bit different than what you'll see. But what it will have in common is there will be a URL for you to click on that will take you back to FleetCommander and a prompt to enter in a new password on that. Now you'll notice here at the top where it says password rules that in this instance the site is configured that the password must contain between 1 and 20 characters. That's something that may vary with your site. Just make sure to pay attention to the instructions that are on there. It may say that you have to have at least one letter that's capitalized or a unique character. Just follow those and make sure that your password matches the requirements there. After you enter in your new password, the original of your new password, and then retyping that new password, hit submit, and what you will see is that you will receive this message that your password has been successfully updated and that you're able to click on the login and to access FleetCommander at that point. Now, if perchance that you clicked on the forgot password and put in your username, and you end up getting this message right here, the system was unable to send your password reset email, please try again or contact your FleetCommander administrator for assistance. It may be that you don't have the right username that you entered, or it may be an indication that you don't have a profile in FleetCommander. So that being the case, once you determine what your proper username is, you can attempt that again. Or if you're told by your fleet administrator that you do not have a profile set up, that's when you would want from the main login page to click on the user registration sign up now link. By clicking on this sign up now link, this gives you the opportunity to request access to FleetCommander. You will be prompted, depending upon how many sites are managed by your organization, to choose the primary site from where you're going to be renting your vehicles. You will pick transportation services. We'll go ahead and just come up with a name here, and we'll skip the salutation. This will ask you to come up with a unique username. Your organization may have a specific format that they will require for the username and for the password. For example, they might want you to use your company email as that username. So be mindful of that as you consider your username and filling in your password. And speaking of requirements, you'll notice here that certain of the fields on this screen are asterisked, as indicated here at the top. That means those are required fields. And if you were to submit this form or save it without filling those in, you're going to get an error message here indicating that you still have items that need to be filled out. We'll go ahead and fill in the username here and come up with a password. And then also we will go ahead and fill in those fields that are required. In this case, it was the phone number. Fill that in here. And also then the preferred email address. Once you've filled these in, you can add any additional comments that you might want to do so. as based upon the instructions here, and then make sure to put in this security code here and hit save registration. At that point, you'll get a message that tells you that your request has been submitted for a new user profile and that it is pending approval from a system admin. That simply means that they will need to take action on approving your user profile. And once your profile is approved, then you will receive an email notification that tells you that you can log in into the system. At this point, we're going to go ahead and log in with a user profile that I set up previously for this example. And as I do, what you see now is that we're accessing the site. There is another screen that appears here, which is called our welcome screen. Anytime that you log into FleetCommander, you want to go ahead and take a look at what is found here on the welcome screen. This is a great place that your organization may be using to communicate policies or events, or in this case, we see that the fleet services offices are closed on these particular holidays. So when you log in each time into FleetCommander, pay attention to see what's here on the welcome page. It'll help you in making your reservations or using the fleet itself. Now, making reservations. That's what you will see here with under the vehicle use menu here with make reservations. When you click in here, you'll be walked through the process of making a reservation. Now, depending upon the organization, there will be information listed here at the top that guides you and gives you instructions. Some organizations choose not to give further information. So this will vary from group to group. But in this situation, as James Monroe, we're going to go ahead and make a request for ourselves. See that the radio button is highlighted here. You click on that and then you click next. At this point, it pulls you over into the actual reservation screen. As you can see, as myself here as James Monroe, I'm considered the requester, but I'm also then considered as the driver. My pickup time and date, I'm going to go ahead and make this for 2 days from now. You can override the default times and dates as you want to within the field, or if you want to, you can actually click on the calendar and make those changes there. And in regards to the time, you can change the times either by typing them in manually or clicking on the clock. See those changes are made there. Within this order form here, there's going to be some various information that it can be captured. And again, this depends upon the organization, what they decide is required information for you to make those reservations. Obviously, start date and time is crucial. The type of vehicle that you're requesting, that's going to be there by default. In this situation, I'm going to go ahead and pick a midsize hybrid. The only other information on this form that right now is required is a destination. We'll go ahead and put Washington, D.C. on this, and purposes for a group, it's for a tour. But again, your organization may request other information, including maybe department, account number, number of occupants, alternate driver, estimated mileage. All those, could be potential things that you'll need to fill out. Just pay attention to what's being requested and fill that out and put it in comments if you as you need to. Then what you do is you click on next, and you'll see that you have an opportunity to review the data that has been placed within the reservation. If you see that there's something that is in error, you can go in and make that change on that. It's actually not a tour in this case, but it's actually is to go get supplies. So you can make those changes at that point. Hit next, and then at this point you can have the opportunity to cancel the request or submit your request. In this case, we're going to go ahead and submit the request. And what you see is that you get this message that your request has been submitted. And then what happens is that the FleetCommander will pull up your upcoming reservations that you have within FleetCommander. Now we can see here the one that we just made for the 19th. This request is pending at this point. There is this R0 number is what we call our reservation request number. It's not a confirmation number. This request ID is an acknowledgement that your request has been submitted. But in this case, at least with this driver for James Monroe, his request, the system filled his request with the vehicle. It's this 2019 Toyota Prius, but it has not been approved. This is still waiting approval by the system admin and will not be able to be picked up until the administrator with Fleet ends up taking that action and approving of that request. That's unlike some of these other reservations that you see here at the top. Now, what you notice here is that previously James Monroe went in and made reservations for another driver, for Abe Lincoln in this situation. And you can see that we can go ahead and look at those previous reservations by clicking on the magnifying glass. You can see that that was the reservation was made for the 17th. In this case, it was for a compact vehicle. What end up happening is that from here, if there's a question in regards to having not received a confirmation email, or if it got lost someplace, you can actually request to have that confirmation email resent. Every time that a reservation is logged within FleetCommander, there are two emails that are sent by the system. First is the acknowledgement of the request, which that email will contain that R0 number. And then once the reservation is actually approved, either automatically or approved by the system or approved by an admin, then there will be a confirmation email that is then sent that would include not only the R0 number, but then the true confirmation number on that. A few other items that you can see when you go and take a look at the reservations within your schedule is there's the ability to add notes to that reservation. Now, these notes are internal notes, and this is something that you want to make sure that you understand, is that any notes that you place in here are really notes for yourself, and they're not notes intended to be instructions in regards to your reservation to anybody else. The administrators of your fleet are not going to see any of the notes that you place in here. This is really more just for yourself. Now, along with that too, another thing to be mindful of is that if you are to request the changes, this is simply a request to make a change, and action has to be taken by a fleet administrator in order to enact those changes. Now, this message will be sent to the administrators. They will see that, and in fact, the reservation will be flagged within FleetCommander for someone within the fleet administration to take action on those. Like, please extend reservation by an hour. Now, those instructions will be sent once you hit submit, but it does not extend the reservation by an hour. And as you can see, what has happened, rather than that message we saw previously of the request was approved being up here, this reservation has been flagged within FleetCommander for a pending change. That's making a reservation for yourself. Now, one of the other things that you can do, though, is within FleetCommander, you can make reservations for somebody else. There's two designations within FleetCommander, two different levels of permissions. One is a requester permission, The other is the driver permission. So someone who has a requester permission is able to make reservations within FleetCommander for anyone that has a valid login into FleetCommander and has the permission level as a driver. So a requester can make a reservation for themselves if they have that permission level for a driver, and they can make that reservation for anybody else within that system. And that's what we're going to show here with this request is for someone else. The request is for, and what you see here as the instructions that's been placed up here, what's being asked for at this point is not a last name or a first name of a person, but actually their user name. A lot of times you're not going to have that username just at your fingertips unless you're making reservations quite frequently for an individual. If that's is the case, what is provided here within FleetCommander is the ability to search for a driver. Now, please pay attention to this because this sometimes is a little bit tricky and on how people perceive how this should be used versus how it actually is used. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click for a driver, and it pulls up this menu here. And I'm going to search for Lincoln, who I made reservations for previously. I type in the name or partial name and hit go, and it pulls up Lincoln's profile. Hit select, and that pulls Lincoln's name into the username into the field. At that point, you can hit next and continue. However, what oftentimes people will think is that this field here is a search field that corresponds with this link right here. And they'll go ahead and they'll type in Lincoln, and then they'll hit search for driver. And you see what happens? It goes back to the very first alphabetical on the list. It does not come up with any search results for Lincoln. That's because, again, this field doesn't correspond with this as a part of a search, but it is the search results that is pulled back into that field. So one more time, I'm just going to demonstrate that. Search for driver, put in Lincoln, hit go, hit select, and it fills that in for you. At that point, click on next. Now, this is something that you may or may not have noticed a slight difference. Previously, when I made a reservation for myself as James Monroe, it went from the first screen of who is this reservation for to the actual reservation capture form to capture those details. Here, however, we have a kind of a screen that fits in between that and sometimes pops up and sometimes doesn't. And it depends upon what we call a usage type. Some individuals within your organization may have access to various usage types. A usage type in FleetCommander is a way for your fleet managers to be able to determine how things might be billed, how vehicles can be used. In this situation, you see from the instructions there that the usage type short-term rental would be used for any reservations that would last less than 1 month, whereas a seasonal rental is one that would last from 1 to 6 months on that. So depending upon some of individuals within your organization might have the option of multiple usage types, but in some situations maybe that you have only one type of usage type. If that's the case, then this screen does not appear, just like it occurred when we made the reservation for James Monroe. This situation, though, here with Abe Lincoln, he has access to make reservations that are either less than 1 month or longer than 1 month, 1 to 6 months. So you have to make that choice, make that decision based upon the reservation needs. In this case, we're going to go ahead and stay with the short-term rental. Click next. As you see in this time, there is again the designator of Monroe being the one making the reservation and Lincoln being the driver for that. If it was necessary, you could go in and change the driver. You'll see again that pop-up menu that we saw just a few moments ago to help us search for that username and make those changes. We're going to keep it as such on here. We'll go ahead and make this reservation for the future. On that, we'll just pick the 30th, and we'll go ahead and make this as a minivan. Actually, let's go ahead and we'll do this as a large SUV on that. Now, something a little bit different here that did not appear on the previous reservation when we were making it for ourselves, and this is something we want to point out at this stage, is that some users with it may have the ability to select their own vehicle. As we noticed previously on the reservation that we've made, the FleetCommander assigned a vehicle automatically to the reservation from the fleet based upon the date, based upon the vehicle type that was requested, and also based upon the profile for James Monroe. Within his profile, he had the ability to have vehicles automatically assigned to him. Now, Lincoln, however, within his user profile, has been given the ability to not only have vehicles assigned to him automatically by the system, if he chose to do so, but he can also pick his own vehicle, or in this situation, as the requester, have that ability to pick that vehicle for him. Now, in doing so, however, you have to take an action here, and that is the click on this select specific vehicle. One thing we've noticed is that some individuals have that ability to select their own vehicle, but they miss the opportunity because they fail to signify that on this specific reservation, I want to pick out that specific vehicle. So again, we'll fill out the information. We're going to go to Washington again. And this time we'll stick with the tour and hit next. You see at this point, we have now are presented with this screen that shows us the availability of these 3 vehicles for the time frame that we have listed for November the 30th from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. What is pulled up here are our SUVs, and if we hover over the vehicle numbers here, you'll see that you have the further details in regards to the specific vehicles. This one 822417 is a Chevy Suburban 2020 on that gray, and it is an option that can be selected. You'll see here there's this a legend that gives you a description on what this means. This vehicle 821017 is not an option to be selected because it is a vehicle that is currently dispatched out on another reservation. You see that the green section here shows that these time blocks, and each of these represent 60 minutes within on the day of Wednesday, November the 30th. Each of these time blocks are open, and so these 2 vehicles would be an option to be selected. Had there been solid red blocks within this section, that would be an indication that for this day, that vehicle was not available because it was, and the difference between the solid red block and the red block with the Ds is that this vehicle is already dispatched out and has not come back yet. Whereas if there was any solid red blocks here, it would be for a reservation that's yet to be dispatched. You can look through here and through those legends a little bit more if you want to, but in this situation, we're going to go ahead and pick this vehicle right here. Remember, you need to click the radio button when you see that, and then hit next. At this point, it gives us the option to, again, review or submit the request. Now, there's also this button here I want to point out that's an important one called Submit and Make Similar. And particularly if you're making reservations for other individuals, it may be that you have several reservations that need to be entered over the course, that are going to take the course of multiple days, maybe multiple people. The Submit and Make Similar request allows you to speed up the process a little bit. You'll see here that once we hit Submit, that it repopulates the fields with the basic information that you put in there previously. This is would be good in case, for example, where you might have a group that's traveling together on the same day. There's this tour of Washington, D.C. There, you've got one 8-passenger vehicle, but at this point, you need actually a second one. So you have repopulated the field here. You can keep the driver as Lincoln on that, and you can put in maybe something like this to indicate that you're not about to make a mistake and request too many vehicles. You can say that this is vehicle 2 of 2 on that. And that note will help the administrators, the fleet administrator, know that this is an intentional reservation, an intentional duplication on the same day, same destination, same purpose on that same vehicle type. Going to go ahead and not select the specific vehicle this time. I'm going to go ahead and allow the system to pick that. We'll hit next and hit submit. And you'll see that we jump again to the My Schedule, and we have our additional reservations here. So what we have for the 30th, we have our navigator that we picked specifically for that reservation. And then we have the second reservation for that day, and the system assigned it. And you can see here that it was automatically approved. Unlike earlier when we made that reservation for ourselves as James Monroe, and it's still there and pending, Lincoln, he has a level of access where the system will automatically approve of those and confirm those reservations without any further action by the administrators on that. You can see also there's the ability here within reservations to, in addition to looking at them as we did earlier, we had shown that the ability to resend the emails, request changes, cancel the requests. You can do that within here. You can also, if it's necessary or if there's a purpose for it, you can load files to your reservation. It may be that your organization may require certain documentations, and it may be part of the instructions of making reservations for you to provide that documentation in a PDF form. Well, this would be a place where you could do that. You can click on the files, add new, choose your file. I would pull up, in this case, pull up some pretty good pictures, and you could just load those at that point and choose the category if there was a category, and hit save, and it loads it to FleetCommander, so that you have the ability to save items like pictures or things like that. So one other item under the My Schedule that I wanted to point out too is that you do have the ability to look at past reservations with the all requests versus the current ones. This is everything in the past and current, whereas the current is just the ones that are either for today or for the future. And then also you have the ability to cancel requests at this point. And it would ask for reasons for the cancellation, not going, and hit yes, and then that ends up being pulled away from the request. It still shows because it is technically a future reservation, but it is no longer an active reservation. And one note, once a reservation is canceled within FleetCommander, if you change your mind, you do have to re-enter that request again. There's no way for your administrator to reactivate that request once it is canceled. You'll need to simply enter in a new request for that date and time if that cancellation was on accident. So we've taken a look at making reservations. We've taken a look at my schedule. One thing I want to show is my profile. I'm going to log out and log back in as our good friend Abe Lincoln. So we will try. Yep. And now this is something that you'll notice. The first time that you log in to FleetCommander, and sometimes this might occur again in the future if your fleet administrator so chooses, is that there has to be an acknowledgement of policy. We had pointed out the policy link earlier. Within FleetCommander, it can be set up to make you acknowledge your policies. The first time that you log in, it's going to ask you to acknowledge it at the top, and then you click your I've read and agree to the terms of the policy. And that way you're able to fully know what the expectations are in regards to the use of the vehicle that you're going to be reserving. And again, you may see this the first times you log into FleetCommander, but you may end up seeing it when there's policy changes, when your fleet administrator prompts the system to send out that alert one more time. So we saw that, and here I wanted to point out the My Profile portion. If there's ever any changes that you need to make in regards to the details of your address, your contact information, you have the ability to come into FleetCommander here and make those changes. You also have the ability to make changes to your active password. That is as long as your organization has chose to make use of the native login of FleetCommander. That's a password, and if you have any special customized login, any type of single sign-on, that is not going to be an option within FleetCommander. So just be aware of that on how you're able to log into FleetCommander, if it's based upon the native login or if it is that customized authentication on that. But this is where you'd make those changes. I encourage you to, anytime that there are updates that need to be made to your profile, make those changes. That way there's not any drop in communication between you and your fleet administrators. If your email changes, particularly, the FleetCommander makes use of emails to communicate, in regards to the confirming reservations, to prompt you if you're late for pickup or late for return. All those are found there and are processed through email. So make sure to keep that information current on that. There's also another portion here, which is called My Reports. This is a way for you to come in to FleetCommander and to make some determinations on how you used the fleet, or what was the documentation of where you traveled. That may be something that's necessary for auditing purposes, and you have that access to that information yourself for the reservations that you placed within the system. And you have the reservation summary here, by putting in a date range on this and filtering through the date that you made it, the dates that the time period of when it start or end. You're able to run the report. You can have it reserved for me, reserved by me. It captures that information, and when you hit generate report, in this case there's nothing because of that time frame. Let's go back one to Monroe. Let's see. Under My Reports, and you click on reservation summary. And there we go. You see here that we have the information about his reservation, includes all the information here, including the status of that. So if we did that, we go through the other reports. You have reservation details, you have completed reservations, you have billing history on that. If you did here, let's see what we find. You can see here that there's information for the billing and the total charges for each of those reservations. So this is a great access for you, again, for if you're needing an account for your trips, you're able to run these various reports, including anything that may show in regards to reservations that were late for return. Finally, other item I want to take a look at is this portion for my vehicles. I'm going to log in as another of our past presidents. Let's see here. And you see here that when you click on the My Vehicles, we find that John Adams within Fleet is considered a responsible party or a responsible user for a particular vehicle. It's the 10474 vehicle number for a Chevy Colorado. And what this allows is if you have a vehicle that is assigned to you, you may be expected by your fleet administrators to keep track and provide the mileage of those vehicles. Now, these vehicles are long-term rentals, not daily rentals. They're assigned vehicles. This is a way for you to document your mileage. And within Fleet Commander, there is another one of those emails that can be sent out by the fleet administrator that will prompt you to come to this portion of Fleet Commander and log your mileage. As you can see here, there is, we've been keeping track in Fleet Commander here, the mileage since July, and it was logged with the start date and the end dates on that, and the start mileage and the end mileage. And we can see here that the last recorded mileage that we had was 21,300 for back in September. And that end date and time here is reflected by what is populated in here as the start date. So we're a little behind on accounting for mileage. What can end up happening though is you can change that date. Say this was supposed to have been for the October's reading on that. You can hit on the calendar, go to the 1st. We'll leave the date, the time at the same, but we'll go ahead and amend the end to that. And we had put in another 1,000 miles on this during that time period. So by putting in that and putting in a description for miles for July, not July, we're doing October. You add that and it populates it here again. So this may be something that you'll be required to do. This is how you make reservations within Fleet Commander, how you can check on your schedule, both past and present, how you can run reports from your previous reservations. We've shown you also how to update your profile to make sure that the information in there is current and relevant. And we've also shown you today how that you can update the mileage on a vehicle if you have one assigned for you for a long term. Remember that you can always log into Fleet Commander to review the various policies in regards to your organization's fleet, to check on the rates and what vehicles are available to you, and review other information, including frequently asked questions. That concludes this presentation. We certainly appreciate you using Fleet Commander. If you have any additional questions, reach out to your fleet administration. On behalf of Agile Fleet, I thank you and wish you a very safe trip.